Hello, my dearest fishies, and welcome to another story time. I hope you're ready to continue reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. We do have a ad break playing first, but fear not. We're just going to take a couple of deep breaths, drink some water, and relax before we begin reading. I'll make sure that everything is set up as it should be. And would you look at that? Hi, Billingham. Welcome. Hello, B-Dogs. It's good to see you again. Hi, Wood. Hi, Dip. Hi, Billingham. I set up a new function. I was actually working on setting up another function. Hi, Jap. But every time someone sends a chat message in either the purple or the red app, bubbles. Bubbles. There are bubbles in the background. Jap, thank you for the 15 stream streak. That's a lot of streams. That's a lot of me to deal with. Thank you for being here. Hi, Dova. I'm adjusting the... You see how big my mouth is right now? Here. This is me messing with the lip sync settings. I think that it looks really silly if I set it all to 100%. This is the default. Look at how silly this is. It just feels so very unnatural. I hate it. I hate it. This is why when I normally do have the lip sync turned on, but what I do is I turn down the strength of it all the way to a half, and then I turn off the ah, because I feel like it's just way too much. And then I keep the E. I keep the E. And then there's eh. I think I usually turn this one down a lot. And then there's oh. Oh. Nope, that's doing ooh. Ooh. So the O doesn't really work all very much. I also feel like the lip sync is a little too slow for what human mouths actually move at. So I actually turn down the smoothing a lot. Let's see, do I set O to 0? I think I usually set O to 0. I don't know if I keep ooh, because it just makes my lips too close together. Do I put that in half? I don't remember. Ooh, yeah, I probably set that at half. Hi, Ember Knight. So yeah, that's how I set up my lip sync. So you don't even have to, okay, well, you do have to see me, because otherwise I go to sleep. I'm just very sleepy. Now, if I don't have lip sync turned on, let me turn that off. And this is how my mouth normally moves. Uh-oh. Hold on. It's bugged. There we go. This is how my mouth normally moves without the lip sync. So it's a lot less mouth movement because certain sounds that you make don't open your mouth. So I like to have the lip sync turned on so that you can actually see some of the mouth movement. Let me go ahead and save this. Hi, Werewolf. Thank you for listening to my stories. Thank you. If you do ASMR as a second job, it would be so nice. As if I don't have enough jobs. I do have ASMR videos, and very rare occasion, I do ASMR live streams. VTube Studio, I am in Wardo. I am a 3D VTuber. So let me see if I can show you. I can do different animations and stuff. Here, let me just grab one. I can, here's a idle pose. Not idol, but an idol. Wait, it's not doing it. Oh. That's strange. Did it break? Did it break? Well, that's weird. Body IK? No. Nothing appears to be broken. That's correct. That's correct. That's weird. You have potential? Thank you, I hope so. Wouldn't be StephTsu if something didn't work. I know, I swear, all the time I have something new to fix. I never get... I have no freedom. Let me see, hand tracking. I should really do something about the fact that the hand tracking is just very broken. I don't know what happened here, but we won't worry about it. Not sure why the animation wasn't working. Animations folder? Oh, would you look at that? It opened a window on a monitor that I don't have available. Interesting. It's not doing any of the animations. You know what? I think I know why. It's the AFK, the go to sleep thingy. That's changing my animations. So here, now I can change my thing. This is a idle pose. So I just kind of, bounce between my feet. I'm just like waiting. I can chicken dance. Big stretchies. Oh, big stretchies. Swimming. Whoop. I'm gone. Swimming. Hi, Trey. Welcome. Backflip. Dab. Dab again. Thinking. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. I hope you love it here. Alright, my sweetie pies. Put a 1 in chat if you are ready to begin. Ready to resume Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. We will be resuming from chapter 8. We finished reading chapter 7 yesterday, so if you were not caught up with where we are, that is perfectly okay. We encountered a interesting house with interesting individuals and some strange things that happened with a baby that turned into a pig and the Cheshire Cat that has a very wide spooky grin. In addition to the Cheshire Cat, we also found our way back to the hall with the glass table and the key, and Alice has made it into the beautiful garden. Hi, Za. Hi, crew fan. Jap is ready to read. It's a nice change from other VTubers. Well, I appreciate that you enjoy my voice. Put a 1 in chat if you are ready to resume reading. You are all hydrated. You are all snuggled up in your blanket. If you would like to solve a puzzle, I will certainly give you a puzzle. And if you want to go to sleep, you are all snuggled up and ready to go to sleep. Yes, you are correct. We did also have the Mad Hatter scene. All right. And hi, Mara. Wood is also ready. Oh my days, is your model different? Well, if you're speaking different, as in some days I am 2D and some days I am 3D, yes. I have a lot of things that I'm trying to fix and trying to optimize behind the scenes with both the 2D model and the 3D model. So some days, depending on what I broke, I'll be one or the other. And today, I made a minor change. Every message that we have in the purple or the red app activates some bubbles. So, hello, welcome to our new fishies. I only see 2 people that are ready to begin reading. That does not give me hope that you are ready to begin reading. Are my fishies ready to relax? If you don't know me, my name is Steph. I read books on stream, and this is Sanctuary, your safe place away from the stresses of the outside world. Here you are safe to relax, take a deep breath, feel at peace, sometimes have a giggle and a laugh, fall asleep, solve a puzzle, and have a good time. So I hope you enjoy listening to my voice, and I hope you enjoy listening to the story. Tars is ready. Ember is ready. Hi, Nuki. Native Beans is ready. Nuki, thank you for the gift. Thank you. If you are on Twitch or YouTube, you do also have some commands available to you. You can ! lights. And every message you send in chat will activate the bubbles behind me. I will show you what happens if we turn off the lights. Spooky. Spooky and relaxing. So sometimes you have the power to flashbang. Congratulations. If we get gift subs, I should really hook this up so that it's automatic, but if we get any gift subs, I'll go bald. Just for you. The lights off is comforting. I like the lights off. It's very much vibes. Hi, Unzipped. Alright, I will go ahead and begin reading. If you're on TikTok, I do encourage you to keep pressing that like button. It helps share the stream out with more fishies. So if you think other people need relaxation in their day, it would mean a lot to me if you shared the stream. Chapter 8. The Queen's Croquet Ground. A large rose tree stood near the entrance of the garden. The roses growing on it were white, but there were three gardeners at it, busily painting them red. Alice thought this was a very curious thing, and she went nearer to watch them. And just as she came up to them, she heard one of them say, "Look out now, 5. Don't go splashing paint over me like that." "I can't help it," said 5 in a sulky tone. 7 jogged my elbow. On which 7 looked up and said, "That's right, 5. Always lay the blame on others." "You'd better not talk," said 5. "I heard the Queen say only yesterday you deserve to be beheaded." "What for?" said the one who had spoken first. "That's none of your business, too," said 7. "Yes, it is his business," said 5, "and I'll tell him. It was for bringing the cook tulip roots instead of onions." 7 flung down his brush and had just begun, well, of all the unjust things, when his eye chanced to fall upon Alice as she stood watching them. He checked himself suddenly. The others looked round also, and all of them bowed low. "Would you tell me," said Alice, a little timidly, "why are you painting those roses?" 5 and 7 said nothing, but looked at 2. 2 began in a low voice. "Why, the fact is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake. And if the Queen was to find it out, we should all have our heads off, you know. So, you see, miss, we're doing our best afore she comes to. Afore she comes to." At this moment, 5, who had been anxiously looking across the garden, called out, "The Queen! The Queen!" And the 3 gardeners instantly threw themselves flat upon their faces. There was a sound of many footsteps, and Alice looked round, eager to see the Queen. First came 10 soldiers carrying clubs. These were all shaped like the 3 gardeners, oblong and flat, with their hands and feet at the corners. Next, the 10 courtiers, courtiers? 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 I don't know. With their hands and feet at the corners. Next, the 10 courtiers. These were ornamented all over with diamonds, and walked 2 and 2, as the soldiers did. After these came the royal children. There were 10 of them, and the little dears came jumping merrily along hand in hand, in couples. They were all ornamented with hearts. Next came the guests, mostly kings and queens, and among them Alice recognized the white rabbit. It was talking in a hurried, nervous manner, smiling at everything that was said, and went by without noticing her. Then followed the Knave of Hearts, carrying the king's crown on a crimson velvet cushion. And, last of all this grand procession, came the King and Queen of Hearts. Alice was rather doubtful whether she ought not to lie down on her face like the 3 gardeners. But she could not remember ever having heard of such a rule at processions. And besides, what would be the use of a procession, thought she, if people all had to lie down upon their faces so that they couldn't see it? So she stood where she was and waited. When the procession came opposite to Alice, they all stopped and looked at her. And the Queen said severely, "Who is this?" She said it to the Knave of Hearts, who only bowed and smiled in reply. "Idiot," said the Queen, tossing her head impatiently, and, turning to Alice, she went on. "What's your name, child?" "My name is Alice, so please your Majesty," said Alice very politely, but she added to herself, "Why, they're only a pack of cards, after all. I needn't be afraid of them." "Who are these?" said the Queen, pointing to the 3 gardeners who were lying round the rose tree. For, you see, as they were still lying on their faces, and the pattern on their backs was the same as the rest of the pack, she could not tell whether they were gardeners, or soldiers, or courtiers, or 3 of her own children. "How should I know?" said Alice, surprised at her own courage. "It's no business of mine." The Queen turned crimson with fury, and after glaring at her for a moment like a wild beast, screamed, "Off with her head! Off!" "Nonsense!" said Alice very loudly and decidedly, and the Queen was silent. The King laid his hand upon her arm and timidly said, "Consider, my dear, she is only a child." The Queen turned angrily away from him and said to the Knave, "Turn them over." The Knave did so, very carefully, with 1 foot. "Get up," said the Queen in a shrill, loud voice. and the 3 gardeners instantly jumped up and began bowing to the king, the queen, the royal children, and everybody else. "Leave off that," screamed the queen. "You make me giddy." And then, turning to the rose tree, she went on, "What have you been doing here?" "May it please your majesty," said StephTsu, in a very humble tone, going down on one knee as he spoke. "We were trying—" "I see," said the queen, who had meanwhile been examining the roses. "Off with their heads!" And the procession moved on, 3 of the soldiers remaining behind to execute the unfortunate gardeners, who ran to Alice for protection. "You shan't be beheaded. You shan't be beheaded," said Alice, and she put them into a large flower pot that stood near. The 3 soldiers wandered about for a minute or 2, looking for them, and then quietly marched off after the others. "Are their heads off?" shouted the queen. "Their heads are gone, if it please your majesty," the soldiers shouted in reply. "That's right," shouted the queen. "Can you play croquet?" The soldiers went silent and looked at Alice, as the question was evidently meant for her. "Yes," shouted Alice. "Come on then," roared the queen, and Alice joined the procession, wondering very much what would happen next. It's a very fine day," said a timid voice at her side. She was walking by the white rabbit, who was peeping anxiously into her face. "Very," said Alice. Where's the Duchess?" "Hush, hush," said the rabbit in a low, hurried tone. He looked anxiously over his shoulder as he spoke, and then raised himself upon tiptoe, put his mouth close to her ear, and whispered, "She's under sentence for execution." "What for?" said Alice. "Did you say what a pity?" the rabbit asked. "No, I didn't," said Alice. "I don't think it's at all a pity. I said, what for?" "She boxed the queen's ears," the rabbit began. Alice gave a little scream of laughter. "Oh, hush," the rabbit whispered in a frightened tone. "The queen will hear you. You see, she came rather late, and the queen said—" "Get to your places," shouted the queen in a voice of thunder, and people began running about in all directions, tumbling up against each other. However, they got settled down in a minute or 2, and the game began. Alice thought she had never seen such a curious croquet ground in her life. It was all ridges and furrows. The balls were live hedgehogs, the mallets live flamingos. And the soldiers had to double themselves up and to stand on their heads and feet, hands and feet, to make the arches. The chief difficulty Alice found at first was in managing her flamingo. She succeeded in getting its body tucked away comfortably enough under her arm, with its legs hanging down. But generally, just as she had got its neck nicely straightened out and was going to give the hedgehog a blow to the head, it would twist itself round and look up in her face with such a puzzled expression that she could not help but bursting out laughing. And when she had got its head down and was going to begin again, it was very provoking to find that the hedgehog had unrolled itself and was in the act of crawling away. Besides all this, there was generally a ridge or furrow in the way wherever she wanted to send the hedgehog to. And as the doubled-up soldiers were always getting up and walking off to other parts of the ground, Alice soon came to the conclusion that it was a very difficult game to play indeed. The players all played at once without waiting for turns, quarreling all the while and fighting for the hedgehogs. And in a very short time, the queen was in a furious passion and went stamping about and shouting, "Off with his head," or "Off with her head," about once in a minute. Alice began to feel very uneasy. To be sure, she had not as yet had any dispute with the queen, but she knew that it might happen any minute. And then, thought she, what would become of me? They're dreadfully fond of beheading people here. The great wonder is that there is anyone left alive. She was looking about for a curious way of escape. Nope, I read ahead. She was looking about for some way of escape and wondering whether she could get away without being seen, when she noticed a curious appearance in the air. It puzzled her very much at first, but after watching it a minute or two, she made it out to be a grin. And she said to herself, "It's the Cheshire Cat. Now I shall have someone to talk to." "How are you getting on?" said the cat, as soon as there was mouth enough for it to speak with. Alice waited till the eyes appeared, and then nodded. It's no use speaking to it, she thought, till its ears have come, or at least one of them. In another minute, the whole head had appeared, and then Alice put down her flamingo and began an account of the game, feeling very glad she had someone to listen to her. The cat seemed to think that there was enough of it now in sight, and no more of it appeared. "I don't think they play at all fairly," Alice began in a rather complaining tone. "And they all quarrel so dreadfully, one can't hear oneself speak. And they don't seem to have any rules in particular. At least, if there are, nobody attends to them. And you've no idea how confusing it all is. How confusing it is, all the things being alive. For instance, there's the arch I've got to go through next walking about at the other end of the ground. And I should have croqueted the queen's hedgehog just now, only it ran away when it saw mine coming. How do you like the queen? The cat said in a low voice. Hello, fishies. Not at all, said Alice. She is so extremely... Just then she noticed the queen was close behind her, listening. So she went on. Likely to win. That it's hardly worthwhile finishing the game. The queen smiled and passed on. Who are you talking to? Said the king, going up to Alice and looking at the cat's head with great curiosity. It is a friend of mine, a Cheshire Cat, said Alice. Allow me to introduce it. I don't like the look of it at all, said the king. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes. I'd rather not, the cat remarked. Don't be impertinent, said the king, and don't look at me like that. He got behind Alice as he spoke. A cat may look at a king, said Alice. I've read that in some book, but I don't remember where. Well, it must be removed, said the king very decidedly, and he called to the queen, who was passing at the moment. My dear, I wish you would have this cat removed. The queen had only one way of settling all difficulties, great or small. Off with his head, she said, without even looking round. I'll fetch the executioner myself, said the king eagerly, and he hurried off. Alice thought she might as well go back and see how the game was going on, as she heard the queen's voice in the distance, screaming with passion. She had already heard her sentence 3 of the players to be executed for having missed their turns, and she did not like the look of things at all, as the game was in such confusion that she never knew whether it was her turn or not. So she went on in search of her hedgehog. The hedgehog was engaged in a fight with another hedgehog, which seemed to Alice an excellent opportunity for croqueting one of them with the other. The only difficulty was that her flamingo was gone across to the other side of the garden, where Alice could see it was trying helplessly. Where Alice could see it trying in a helpless sort of way to fly up into a tree. Sorry. Hold on, cares. I can hear the bone broth gang. Huh? What? Huh? What does that mean? Oh my god, my back. Oh, I really hurt my back. I don't know what you mean. Oh, yeah. It was the comment about what my catchphrase is. Bone broth. Speaking of which, I need to make more bone broth. I gotta go to the grocery store, get some rotisserie chicken, make some bone broth. Ah, you're silly. All my fishies are silly. Is this your main line of work? No. I have a full-time job. Ham bone broth? I can't have pork. Well, I've been advised not to have pork for my heart. Where was I? Oh, there it is. That was my neck. Hello, welcome fishies. And Santario, thank you for the 7-stream streak. 4 head kisses to you. Mwah. I can't actually give kisses because YouTube will ban me. Hi, Shinigami. By the time she had caught the flamingo and brought it back, the fight was over, and both the hedgehogs were out of sight. But it doesn't matter much, thought Alice, as all the arches are gone from this side of the ground. So she tucked it away under her arm, that it might not escape again, and went back for a little more conversation with her friend. When she got back to the Cheshire Cat, she was surprised to find quite a large crowd collected round it. There was a dispute going on between the executioner, the king, and the queen, who were all talking at once, while all the rest were quite silent, and looked very uncomfortable. The moment Alice appeared, she was appealed to by all 3 to settle the question, and they repeated their arguments to her, though, as they all spoke at once, she found it very hard indeed to make out exactly what they said. The executioner's argument was that if you couldn't cut off a head, unless there was a body to cut it from, that he had never had to do such a thing before, and he wasn't going to begin at his time of life. The king's argument was that anything that had a head could be beheaded, and that you weren't to talk nonsense. The queen's argument was that if something wasn't done about it in less than no time, she'd have everybody executed all round. It was this last remark that had made the whole party look so grave and anxious. Alice could think of nothing else to say but, "It belongs to the Duchess. You'd better ask her about it." "She's in prison," the queen said to the executioner. "Fetch her here." And the executioner went off like an arrow. The cat's head began fading away the moment he was gone, and by the time he had come back with the Duchess, it had entirely disappeared, so the king and the executioner ran wildly up and down looking for it, while the rest of the party went back to the game. Take another drink of water. My tummy made noise. Okay. Flashbang. Good evening from Italy. Why, hello, Paolo. Welcome. I don't know any Italian. Can you tell me what welcome is in Italian? Hi, Omniguardian. Hi, Red Apple Juice. Hello, Sir Chaos. Hello, George. Hello, Pan. Hello, Michael. Hello, Xavier. Hello, Seb and Night City. Welcome to all of our fishies. If you want to activate the bubbles in the background, you can jump to one of the different platforms. You can find me under the same name, StephTsu, anywhere. Good morning from Australia. I just woke up. It's 5:45 a.m. My golly, it's 5:45 p.m. for me. I would assume that you are in the future. So it is Sunday morning for you, Omni? Good morning to you. Can we do a country check? What country are you in? To everyone. What can be used with ciao in this case? Benvenuto or benvenuta. We got 2 in Sweden. Hello. It's got to be very early for you, huh? Good evening from the UK. We have UK. I'm in the US, and I know we're going to have a lot of US audience. But I love getting to see all of our fishies out there in the future. If you want to be more specific, whales. Whale. Hi, Pyro. Oh, it is still nighttime in Sweden. The only thing that I know in Swedish is something that a friend once told me a long time ago. Godnacht. Good night. And sometimes I tried learning a little bit of Swedish, and he would bully me for my bad pronunciation. But I was young. I was a child. I was just learning. I was just a wee baby. Godnacht. I love learning languages. I do. I know a little bit of Russian. I know a little bit of German and Spanish and Japanese. And I always want to try learning a little more so that I can make you feel welcome here. So I do encourage you to share with me sometimes. Did I get the card reference? No. No, I didn't. I am ready to read the next chapter, though. If you're ready to continue reading, put a 1 in chat. Put a 1 in chat if you're ready for more of Alice's adventures. Oh, the Mad Hatter. That makes sense. That makes sense. Pan is ready. Jap is ready. Shinigami is ready. Cat is ready. My sweet little fishies are ready for bedtime. Pyro is ready. Cares is ready. All right. We'll keep going. Chapter 9. The Mock Turtle's Story. You can't think how glad I am to see you again, you dear old thing, said the Duchess, as she tucked her arm affectionately into Alice's, and they walked off together. Alice was very glad to find her in such a pleasant temper, and thought to herself that perhaps it was only the pepper that had made her so savage when they met in the kitchen. When I'm a duchess, she said to herself, not in a very hopeful tone, though. I won't have any pepper in my kitchen at all. Soup does very well without. Maybe it's always pepper that makes people hot-tempered. She went on, very pleased at having found out a new kind of rule. And vinegar that makes them sour, and chamomile that makes them bitter, and barley sugar and such things that make children sweet-tempered. I only wish people knew that. Then they wouldn't be so stingy about it, you know? She had quite forgotten the Duchess by this time, and was a little startled when she heard her voice so close to her ear. You're thinking about something, my dear, and that makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you just now what the moral of that is, but I shall remember it in a bit. Perhaps it hasn't one? Alice ventured to remark. Tut, tut, child, said the Duchess. Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it. And she squeezed herself up closer to Alice's side as she spoke. Alice did not much like keeping so close to her. First, because the Duchess was very ugly. Secondly, because she was exactly the right height to rest her chin upon Alice's shoulder, and it was an uncomfortably sharp chin. However, she did not like to be rude, so she bore it as well as she could. The game's going on rather better now, she said, by way of keeping up the conversation a little. 'Tis so, said the Duchess. And the moral of that is, oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round. Somebody said, Alice whispered, that it's done by everybody minding their own business. Ah, well, it means much the same thing, said the Duchess, digging her sharp little chin into Alice's shoulder as she said, and the moral of that is, take care of the sense, and the sounds will take care of themselves. How fond she is of finding morals in things, Alice thought to herself. I dare say you're wondering why I don't put my arm round your waist, the Duchess said after a pause. The reason is that I'm doubtful about the temper of your flamingo. Shall I try the experiment? He might bite, Alice said cautiously, not feeling at all anxious to have the experiment tried. Very true, said the Duchess. Flamingos and mustard both bite, and the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together. Only mustard isn't a bird, Alice remarked. Right, as usual, said the Duchess. What a clear way you have of putting things. It's a mineral, I think, said Alice. Of course it is, said the Duchess, who seemed ready to agree with everything that Alice said. There's a large mustard mine near here, and the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours. Oh, I know, exclaimed Alice, who had not attended to this last remark. It's a vegetable. It doesn't look like one, but it is. I quite agree with you, said the Duchess. And the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be. Or if you'd like it, put more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that you... Oh my god, that's a lot of words. Hold on, we'll get there. Hi, Dexy. Hi, Fly. Hi, Joseph. Hi, Ellen. Never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that what you were or might have been was not otherwise than what you had been would have appeared to them to be otherwise. I think I should understand that better, Alice said very politely, if I had it written down, but I can't quite follow it as you say it. That's nothing to what I chose say. That's nothing to what I could say if I chose, the Duchess replied, in a pleased tone. Hi, pro self-love. Pray, don't trouble yourself to say it any longer than that, said Alice. Oh, don't talk about trouble, said the Duchess. I make you a present of everything I've said as yet. A cheap sort of present, thought Alice. I'm glad they don't give birthday presents like that. But she did not venture to say it out loud. Thinking again? The Duchess asked, with another dig of her sharp little chin. I've a right to think, said Alice sharply, for she was beginning to feel a little worried. Just as much right, said the Duchess, as pigs have to fly. But here, to Alex's great surprise, the Duchess's voice died away, even in the middle of her favorite word, moral. And the arm that was linked into hers began to tremble. Alice looked up, and there stood the Queen in front of them, with her arms folded, frowning like a thunderstorm. A fine day, Your Majesty, the Duchess began in a low, weak voice. Now, I give you fair warning, shouted the Queen, stamping on the ground as she spoke. Either you or your head must be off, and that in about half no time. Take your choice. The Duchess took her choice and was gone in a moment. Let's go on with the game, the Queen said to Alice, and Alice was much too frightened to say a word, but slowly followed her back to the croquet ground. The other guests had taken advantage of the Queen's absence and were resting in the shade. However, the moment they saw her, they hurried back to the game, the Queen merely remarking that a moment's delay would cost them their lives. I need my chapstick. Does anybody have chapstick? Who stole my chapstick? Only balm? Here, I'll go grab my chapstick. 1 second. I know people like the bubbles, the bubble pops. Everyone loves bubble pops. Anyway. Because I get distracted and then I start chewing. I start biting on my lips. Hi, Sambo. See, you guys love the bubbles. I know you love the bubbles. Everyone loves bubbles. Bubble Pop was such a good song. You mean Soda Pop? My little soda pop. Alright. All the time they were playing, the queen never left off quarreling with the other players and shouting, "Off with his head," or "Off with her head." Those whom she sentenced were taken into custody by soldiers, who, of course, had to leave off being arches to do this, so that by the end of half an hour or so, there were no arches left, and all the players, except the king, the queen, and Alice, were in custody and under sentence of execution. Then the queen left off, quite out of breath, and said to Alice, "Have you seen the mock turtle yet?" "No," said Alice. "I don't even know what a mock turtle is." "It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from," said the queen. "I never saw one or heard of one," said Alice. "Come on, then," said the queen, "and he shall tell you his story. He shall tell you his history." As they walked off together, Alice heard the king say in a low voice to the company generally, "You are all pardoned." "Come, that's a good thing," she said to herself, for she had felt quite unhappy at the number of executions the queen had ordered. They very soon came upon a griffon lying fast asleep in the sun. If you don't know what a griffon is, look at the picture. There is no picture. "Up, lazy thing," said the queen. "Take this young lady to see the mock turtle and to hear his history. I must go back and see after some executions I have ordered." And she walked off, leaving Alice alone with the griffon. Alice did not like the look of the creature, but on the whole, she thought it would be quite safe to stay with it as to go after that savage queen. So she waited. The griffon sat up and rubbed its eyes. Then it watched the queen till she was out of sight. Then it chuckled. "What fun," said the griffon, half to itself, half to Alice. "What is the fun?" said Alice. "Why, she," said the griffon. "It's all her fancy, that. They never execute nobody, you know. Come on." "Everybody says, 'Come on here,'" thought Alice, as she went slowly after it. "I never was so ordered about in all my life. I was never so ordered about in all my life. Never." They had not gone far before they saw the mock turtle in the distance, sitting sad and lonely on a little ledge of rock. And, as they came nearer, Alice could hear him sighing as if his heart would break. She pitied him deeply. "What is his sorrow?" she asked the Gryphon, and the Gryphon answered, very nearly in the same words as before. "It's all his fancy, that. He hasn't got no sorrow, you know. Come on." So they went up to the mock turtle, who looked at them with large eyes full of tears, but said nothing. "This here young lady," said the Gryphon, "she wants to know your history, she do." "I'll tell her," said the mock turtle in a deep, hollow tone. "Sit down, both of you, and don't speak a word till I've finished." So they sat down, and nobody spoke for some minutes. Alice thought to herself, I don't see how he can ever finish if he doesn't begin." But she waited patiently. "Once," said the mock turtle at last, with a deep sigh, "I was a real turtle." These words were followed by a very long silence, broken only by an occasional exclamation of "Hedgehogs" from the Gryphon, and the constant heavy sobbing of the mock turtle. Alice was very nearly getting up and saying, "Thank you, sir, for your interesting story," but she could not help thinking there must be more to come. So she sat still and said nothing. I pronounced it incorrectly. I'm not gonna restart the chapter. It's Griffon. I'm not gonna restart the chapter. I'm just gonna have to go with it now. We're too deep in. Where was I? Griffin? But it's Gryphon. Honestly, I read the entirety of Jane Eyre, but I called her Jane Eyre the entire book. So we live and we die. And then we read books in between. So it's okay. We live, laugh, love, and I'm sorry. We're just gonna keep going with it. We mess up, and we'll just push through. When we were little, the mock turtle went on at last, more calmly, though still sobbing a little now and then. We went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise. Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one? Alice asked. We called him Tortoise because he taught us, said the mock turtle angrily. Really? You are very dull. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question, added the Gryphon. And then they both sat silent and looked at poor Alice, who felt ready to sink into the earth. At last, the Gryphon said to the Mock Turtle, "Drive on, old fellow, don't be all day about it." And he went on in these words. "Yes, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it." "I never said I didn't," interrupted Alice. "You did," said the Mock Turtle. "Hold your tongue," added the Gryphon, before Alice could speak again. The Mock Turtle went on. "We had the best of educations, in fact. We went to school every day." "I've been to a day school too," said Alice. "You needn't be so proud as all that." "With extras?" asked the Mock Turtle a little anxiously. "Yes," said Alice. "We learned French and music." "And washing?" said the Mock Turtle. "Certainly not," said Alice indignantly. "Ah, then yours wasn't really a good school," said the Mock Turtle in a tone of great relief. "Now, at ours, they had at the end of the bill French, music, and washing extra." "You couldn't have wanted it much," said Alice. "Living at the bottom of the sea?" "I couldn't afford to learn it," said the Mock Turtle with a sigh. "I only took the regular course." "What was that?" inquired Alice. "Reeling and writhing, of course, to begin with." "And," the Mock Turtle replied, "and then the different branches of arithmetic: ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision." "I never heard of uglification," Alice ventured to say. "What is it?" The Gryphon lifted up both its paws in surprise. "What? Never heard of uglifying?" it exclaimed. You know what to beautify is, I suppose." "Yes," said Alice doubtfully. "It means to make anything prettier." "Well then," the Gryphon went on, "if you don't know what to uglify is, you are a simpleton." Alice did not feel encouraged to ask any more questions about it, so she turned to the Mock Turtle and said, "What else had you to learn?" "Well, there was mystery," the Mock Turtle replied, counting off the subjects on his flappers. "Mystery, ancient and modern, with seaography, then drawing. The drawing master was an old conger eel that used to come once a week. He taught us drawing, stretching, and fainting in coils." "What was that like? Said Alice. Well, I can't show it to you myself, the Mock Turtle said. I'm too stiff, and the Gryphon never learnt it. Hadn't time, said the Gryphon. I went to the classics master, though. He was an old crab, he was. I never went to him, the Mock Turtle said with a sigh. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say. So he did, said the Gryphon, sighing in his turn, and both the creatures hid their faces in their paws. How many hours a day did you do lessons? Said Alice, in a hurry to change the subject. 10 hours the first day, said the Mock Turtle. 9 the next, and so on. What a curious plan, exclaimed Alice. That's the reason they're called lessons. Nope, wrong voice. That's the reason they're called lessons, the Gryphon remarked. Because they lessen from day to day. This was quite a new idea to Alice, and she thought it over a little before she made her next remark. Then, the 11th day must have been a holiday? Of course it was, said the Mock Turtle. And how did you manage on the 12th? Alice went on eagerly. That's enough about lessons, the Gryphon interrupted in a very decided tone. Tell her something about the games now. That is the end of chapter 9. Let's get another stretch. Big stretchies. My back hurts. Ooh. Ooh, my back hurts. Ouchie. Alright. Don't forget to drink your water. Do we need a new puzzle? Ooh, we're 60% of the way through a puzzle. Let me check and see if we have any notifications. No, we don't. Drink our water. Yummy. I don't know why, but my throat has been feeling very dry. Okay. And for this next chapter, I will turn the lights back off. Lights off. Outline on. Yes, if you are watching on the Purple app, there are channel points. You earn channel points as you are watching the stream, and you can use those channel points to redeem sounds, to redeem other things, to redeem stuff. And if you are subscribed you can earn more points. And I do plan to offer more ways to use those points in the future, by the way. Put a 1 in chat if you are ready to resume reading. We have chapter 10 ahead of us, and it looks like we have singing coming up soon. Cadmium is ready, and Odile is ready. Shinigami, welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining on the Purple app. I appreciate it. Do you typically stream the same time each day? I stream Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. So, and on Saturdays, starting at 3 p.m. So that on Saturdays we can have our fishies in future time zones be able to join. I am in the Eastern time zone, so there's plenty of the world in front of me, and I want them to be included. Multi-device for the win. Oh yeah, there's even some people with multiple accounts, and so I know we have one individual who they want to have multiple fishies, because you can have multiple fishies if you send a message in both Purple app and Red app chat. You get 2 fishies with your name on it. Sorry, my eyeballs itch. And Jap is ready to continue reading. Also, Tars, I do offer all of my live streams on YouTube in the live tab. So anytime you want to listen back to a live stream, if you're not able to catch me, those live streams do not end. Those live streams do not expire. So they are yours forever. And then one day, I will eventually get to it, in which I edit all of the reading that I have been doing, and I turn those into audiobooks, and I post those to YouTube. We have 3 chapters left, and so we shall resume. Hello, sweet Dova. Thank you, Tars. Thank you. And thank you to all of our beautiful, wonderful fishies who have gifted on TikTok. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, the more that you like the stream, the more that it pushes the stream out to other potential viewers, and that helps us get more fishies. One of these days I'll figure out how to get TikTok to have, chat integrations too, but we are talking about, a lot of behind the scenes like setup stuff. And I'm just one person. I've only got so much time in the day and so much time to relax. But I do my best. I see the fishies now? Yes, yes. The best way to view the live stream on TikTok is to view the stream horizontally. So if I were to do this. Voila, you can see everything. Magic. You can also see the puzzle in the corner. You can see the chat in the top right. Wow. But I usually have it like this. Because people come in and they're like, oh, anime woman. I like anime woman. Good. Good. You are stuck here now. Hi, Northern Light. Let us continue reading. Yeah? Chapter 10. The Lobster Quadrille. The mock turtle sighed deeply. Hold on, important information. Need banner or some way of knowing that. Okay, here. Okay. I can do this. Can someone type out the phrase, turn phone to view horizontal? I don't have a keyboard, that's why I ask. Oh, ouchie, my ears. I can also add some other stuff, which is pretty cool. There's viewer stuff. Turn phone horizontal. Thank you. Copy. Create text. Put it on vertical. Control paste. This one. That button. Font. Arial black. Yeah. Add source. Beautiful. Okay. It wouldn't be very much fun to put it in front of my forehead, would it? Turn phone to view horizontal. That I like that one for having a little bit more description, explaining why they should do this. I'll have to scrap that recording because I already started recording. Okay, I do this, and I do that, and then we do this. I like that, that's pretty. Oh, I didn't hit save. Oh, this is the part of stream where we get distracted. Me? Distracted? I would never. Whoa, there's fish. Yeah. I guess I should probably have a note also saying, want fish? Other platform. Ooh. Hold on. This one. There we go. On forehead. And then I add another one that says, want fish? Want fish, go to other platform. Yes, yes. Mwahaha. We're going to get all of the TikTok. Ouchie, my ears. Want fish, go to other platform. How should I make this one look? Oh. 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 It looks like this one is too big. Oh. Okay. Is that okay? Looks good. All right. Cool beans. I'm gonna make it smaller over here. That looks fine. Okay. Yippee! All right. Well, we've been distracted enough. Thank you, Tars, and thank you, Shinigami. Cool beans. We got native beans. There can only be one bean. Alright, I don't have hands. You can't see me boxing thin air. Alright. I read. I'm a reading streamer. Chapter 10. The Lobster Quadrille. Quadrille? Quadrille. The sound feels so slightly better here. Oh, does the sound need to be improved over yonder? Is the sound too quiet on Tic-a-Tac? On TikTok-y? Am I too loud or too quiet? Big delay? Yes, there is going to be a big delay, unfortunately. Quadrille? I feel like... I mean, we can understand the quad part, but R-I-L-L-E, I feel like it's gotta be, you know... French? Quadrille? Quadrille? Well, in French, you pronounce like 2 vowels, and then you spit somewhere in the word. I love you. I love you, French. I just can't speak it. I'm sorry. That's how they say it. Okay, they say quadrille. Quadrille. I was just about to say, TikTok sounds more intense. TikTok compresses the audio like crazy. Thank you, Lastro. It sounds good. Alright. It's clear. It could just be that the my microphone is much louder on TikTok. Yes, of course, I can see the messages. Well, off to a great start. I'm gonna have to scrap the beginning of this recording anyway. We'll do it again. It's fine. Alright. We're here for a good time and for relaxation. Chapter 10. The Lobster Quadrille. The mock turtle sighed deeply and drew the back of one flapper across his eyes. He looked at Alice and tried to speak, but for a minute or two, sobs choked his voice. Same as if... Wrong voice. Same as if he had a bone in his throat, said the Griffon. And it set to work shaking him and punching him in the back. At last, the Mock Turtle recovered his voice, and, with tears running down his cheeks, he went on again. You may not have lived much under the sea. I haven't, said Alice. And perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster. Alice began to say, I once tasted, but checked herself hastily, and said, No, never. So you have no idea what a delightful thing lobster quadrille is? No, indeed, said Alice. What sort of dance is it? Why, said the Griffon, you first form into a line along the seashore. 2 lines, cried the Mock Turtle. Seals, turtles, salmon, and so on. Then, when you've cleared all the jellyfish out of the way, that generally takes some time, interrupted the Griffon. You advance twice, each with a lobster as a partner, cried the Griffon. Of course, said the Mock Turtle. Advance twice, set to partners. Change lobsters, and retire in the same order, continued the Griffon. Then, you know, the Mock Turtle went on, you throw the lobsters, shouted the Griffon, with a bound into the air. As far out to sea as you can. Swim after them, screamed the Griffon. Turn a somersault in the sea, cried the Mock Turtle, capering wildly about. Change lobsters again, yelled the Griffon at the top of its voice. Crazy lobsters. Back to land again, and that's all the first figure, said the Mock Turtle, suddenly dropping his voice, and the 2 creatures, who had been jumping about like mad things all this time, sat down again very sadly and quietly, and looked at Alice. It must be a very pretty dance, said Alice timidly. Would you like to see a little of it? Said the Mock Turtle. Very much indeed. Come on, let's try the first figure, said the Mock Turtle to the Griffon. We can do without lobsters. Which shall we sing? Which shall sing? Oh, you sing, said the Griffon. I've forgotten the words. So, they began solemnly dancing round and round Alice, every now and then treading on her toes when they passed too close, and waving their 4 paws to mark the time, while the Mock Turtle sang this, very slowly and sadly. Will you walk a little faster? Said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They were waiting on the shingle Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you? Will you, won't you? Will you join the dance? Will you, won't you? Will you, won't you? Won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea. But the snail replied, too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not, would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not, could not join the dance. What matters how far we go? His scaly friend replied. There is another shore, you know, upon the other side. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. Then turn not pale, beloved snail, but come and join the dance. Will you, won't you? Will you, won't you? Will you join the dance? Will you, won't you? Will you, won't you? Won't you join the dance? Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch, said Alice, feeling very glad it was over at last. And I do so like that curious song about the whiting. Oh, as to the whiting, said the Mock Turtle. You've seen them, of course? Yes, said Alice. I've often seen them at She checked herself hastily. Well, I don't know where Din may be, said the Mock Turtle. But if you've seen them so often, of course you know what they are like. I believe so, Alice replied thoughtfully. They have their tails in their mouths, and they're all over crumbs. You're wrong about the crumbs, said the Mock Turtle. Crumbs would wash off in the sea, but they have their tails in their mouths, and the reason is... Here, the Mock Turtle yawned and shut his eyes. Tell her about the reason and all that, he said to the Griffin. The reason is, said the Griffin, that they would go with the lobsters to dance, so that they got thrown out to sea, so that they had to fall a long way, so they got their tails fast in their mouths, so they couldn't get them out again. That's all. Thank you, said Alice. It's very interesting. I never knew so much about a whiting before. I can tell you more than that if you like, said the Griffin. Do you know why it's called a whiting? I never thought about it, said Alice. Why? It does the boots and shoes, the Griffin replied very solemnly. Alice was thoroughly puzzled. Does the boots and shoes, she repeated in a wondering tone. Why, what are your shoes done with? Said the Griffin. I mean, what makes them so shiny? Alice looked down at them and considered a little before she gave her answer. They're done with blacking, I believe. Boots and shoes under the sea. The Griffin went on in a deep voice, are done with a whiting. Now you know. And what are they made of? Alice asked in a tone of great curiosity. Soles and eels, of course, the Griffin replied rather impatiently. Any shrimp could have told you that. If I'd been a whiting, said Alice, whose thoughts were still running on the song, I'd have said to the purpose, keep back, please, we don't want you with us. They were obliged to have him with then. With them, the Mock Turtle said. No wise fish would go anywhere without a purpose. Wouldn't it really? Said Alice in a tone of great surprise. Of course not, said the Mock Turtle. Why, if a fish came to me and told me he was going on a journey, I should say with what purpose. Don't you mean purpose? Said Alice. I mean what I say, the Mock Turtle replied in an offended tone. And the Griffin added, Come, let's hear some of your adventures. I could tell you my adventures beginning from this morning, said Alice a little timidly. But it's no use going back to yesterday, because I was a different person then. Explain all that, said the Mock Turtle. No, the adventures first, said the Griffin in an impatient voice. Said the Griffin in an said the Griffin in an impatient voice. Tone. He says tone. Said the Griffin in an impatient tone. Explanations take such a dreadful time. So, Alice began telling them her adventures from the time she first saw the white rabbit. She was a little nervous about it at first. The two creatures got so close to her, one on each side, and opened their eyes and mouths so very wise. But she gained courage and went on. Her listeners were perfectly quiet till she got to the part about her repeating, "You are old, Father William," to the caterpillar, and the words all coming different. And then the Mock Turtle drew a long breath and said, "That's very curious." "It's all about as curious as can be," said the Griffin. "It came out all different," the Mock Turtle repeated, thoughtfully. "I should like to hear her try and repeat something now. Tell her to begin." He looked at the Griffin, as he thought it would had... He looked at the Griffin as if he thought it had some kind of authority over Alice. "Stand up and repeat, 'Tis the voice of the sluggard," said the Griffin. How the creatures order one about and make one repeat lessons, thought Alice. I might as well be at school at once. However, she got up and began to repeat it, but her head was so full of the lobster quadrille that she hardly knew what she was saying, and the words came out very queer indeed. "'Tis the voice of the lobster, I heard him declare, you have baked me too brown, I must sugar my hair. As a duck with its eyelids, and so he with his nose trims his belt and his buttons, and turns out his toes. When the sands are all dry, he is gay as a lark, and will talk in contemptuous tones of the shark. But when the tide rises and sharks are round, his voice has a timid and tremulous sound." "That's different from what I used to say when I was a child," said the Gryphon. "Well, I never heard it before," said the Mock Turtle, "but it sounds uncommon nonsense." Alice said nothing. She had sat down with her face in her hands, wondering if anything would ever happen in a natural way again. "I should like to have it explained," said the Mock Turtle. "She can't explain it," said the Gryphon hastily. "Go on with the next verse." "But what about his toes?" the Mock Turtle persisted. "How could he turn them out with his nose, you know?" "It's the first position in dancing," Alice said, but was dreadfully puzzled by the whole thing, and longed to change the subject. "Go on with the next verse," the Gryphon repeated impatiently. "It begins, 'I passed by his garden.'" Alice did not dare disobey, though she felt sure it would all come wrong, and she went on in a trembling voice. "I passed by his garden, and marked with one eye how the owl and the panther were sharing a pie. The panther took pie crust and gravy and meat, while the owl had the dish as its share of the treat. When the pie was all finished, the owl, as a boon, was kindly permitted to pocket the spoon, while the panther received knife and fork with a growl, and concluded the banquet." "What is the use of repeating all that stuff?" the Mock Turtle interrupted, "if you don't explain it as you go on? It's by far the most confusing thing I ever heard." "Yes, I think you'd better leave off," said the Gryphon, and Alice was only too glad to do so. "Should we try another figure of the lobster quadrille?" the Gryphon went on. "Or would you like the Mock Turtle to sing you a song?" "Oh, a song, please, if the Mock Turtle would be so kind," Alice replied, so eagerly that the Gryphon said in a rather offended tone, "No accounting for tastes. Sing her turtle soup, will you, old fellow?" The Mock Turtle sighed deeply and began, in a voice sometimes choked with sobs, to sing this. "Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening." soup. Beautiful soup. Who cares for fish, game, or any other dish? Who would not give all else for 2 penny worth? Only a beautiful soup. Penny worth only of beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Chorus again, cried the griffin. And the mock turtle had just begun to repeat it when the cry of "The trial's beginning" was heard in the distance. "Come on," cried the griffin, and taking Alice by the hand, it hurried off without waiting for the end of the song. "What trial is it?" Alice panted as she ran, but the griffin only answered, "Come on," and ran faster, while more and more faintly came, carried on the breeze that followed them, the melancholy words, "Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup." That's a silly chapter. Who's ready for the next chapter? Put a 1 in chat. Put a 1 in chat if you want to continue with chapter 11. Jap is ready. Do you want to keep reading? Lots of singing, yes. Donald wants to continue reading. Chapter 11, where we begin the trial. Kurt is ready to resume reading. Do we have any other fishies? Everyone is asleep. Put a 2 in chat if you're asleep. You have a very soothing voice. Thank you, Cameron. I'm happy to help you relax or fall asleep. There are 2 people working on a puzzle. If we have anyone else interested in the puzzle, you can say the magical words, puzzle. Rafe is asleep. Do we have any other fishies who are asleep? Is it possible to make the names a tiny bit larger? Why, indubitably, I could make the entirety of chat a little bit larger. Let me do this one thing. I guess I can't do that thing. Oh well. Give me one moment. Whoop. I'm still here. Need not worry. Oh, I have to get my keyboard. And I'm gonna change that to that. But I'm also gonna change this to this. Ooh. emoji scale. Auto scroll, unhide. No feature, no highlights. Sorry, it's a little difficult for me to change it. I have to go through a lot of code. Hide all of this. Compact. Align to the bottom. Okay. Maybe if I take out compact. Someone turned the lights off. Do you want the lights turned on? I confirmed this is the text of one of the later editions, albeit revision Lewis Carroll himself made to the book due to the length of one of the poems. Oh, it is. That's also pretty nice. What? What is nice? Oh, having it longer. I can remove the compact, and we'll see if that works. Okay, go ahead and say something in chat. I don't know that that's gonna help. We're not here for Minecraft. Why? Why are you here? We don't do Minecraft. I don't think that made emojis get large content, quiet commands, hide commands. Something, hello, I don't think that it did what I wanted it to do. Hide alert, color. Help, I'm in a void. I'm sorry, I have to be on this screen if I'm gonna change stuff. Mike, hello? Hello. Is this thing on? What's going on? Bing, bing, oh my god, I'm still recording. I'm just, it's just me being a silly little fishy. I'm taking after you guys. I'm doing what you do. I'm being a silly little goober. There was a solid 30 seconds or so delay. Really? That's so weird. Let me take a look at the YouTube stream because I could have sworn. I see what it is. Yeah, I see what it is. On YouTube, I have it set to normal latency, not ultra low latency. I'll have to fix that for future streams. So in the future, there won't be as much of a delay. I don't like how it's stacking chat, so I am going to add that code back in. Compact. And then I click OK, and then it resets. Let me give a quick look-see. Let me give a quick look-see at my code and see what is the piece of code that I need in order to increase the size of the text. We do also have ads running, so I think this is going to be a perfect time. Ouchie, my tummy hurts. For me to run to the bathroom, okay? Message font weight. No. I want text size. Size for my message. Beep, 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 beep. Beep up. Overlay, font size, ah ha ha. Font size is like that. So now I'll increase it to this, and then I'll copy that, and then I will also do this. And then I will do that, and then I'll go back to this, and then I have to go back over here, and then I have to click this thing, and then I have to copy all of this, and replace it with this. And then now, all you guys have to do is spam a bunch of words, be nice, be family friendly. If you're not, the mods will touch your butt, and I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'm back. Are you all puzzling well? Oh, sorry, TikTok chat. For some reason, the chat wasn't updating. I was promised to be touched, and mods haven't delivered. Pan. I don't think B-Dogs was listening, but I said if anybody misbehaves, the mods are gonna touch your butt. Faifu, thank you for the posture check. That goes for everyone. Posture check. Was I sleeping? I was going to the bathroom. For free? Yeah, for free. They don't get paid unless you want to pay them in butt touches. I hope the mods don't do that. Do we like how big the chat is on the side? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't like how it's kind of split into multiple lines, you know? You are all such sweet, beautiful creatures. Such sweeties. Such sweethearts. I want to see if there is another way that I can adjust the text. He touched the butt. Ouchie. Okay, no background shading. No text outlining. I think we want to leave the text outline, right? Yeah, because that makes sure that all of the messages can be read. Menu dock, we don't want the menu. The overlay. The font scale. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I breathed too hard. Viewer count per source. No, I don't want to include the viewer count. Can we change the font to Wingdings? I can change the font to any Google font, but normally I go with Arial or Arial Black because that is a dyslexic friendly font. We care about visibility. I am going to slightly adjust the size of the text down a little bit. I could also have the chat, like the chat messages disappear after a certain number of seconds. Messages aligned to the right side. I could actually also include the stream events. And what I mean by stream events is somebody follows or somebody gives a gift You like how the classic looks? I want to make sure that it's visible for all my fishies. Where is it? Where is that setting? Visibility, hide avatars, hide timestamps, hide all stream events. Yes, you could drag it bigger through OBS. It's not the same, so I have to use a third-party plugin in order to, excuse me, I have to use a third-party plugin in order to get all of the chats going through one place. I can make the OBS window a little bit bigger, yes, but it's preference. It's preference, really. Let me go ahead and copy this and let's try it out. This way, if somebody gifts a sub or gifts something on TikTok, it's included. Delete that, control paste, and I will actually increase this just slightly. Boop. And then we'll do this, and then this. I think I'll just delete that because it's not doing the job that it was supposed to do. Okay, now you can send messages and stuff through chat. If you enable stream events, please don't allow it to make a bunch of sounds. Oh, no. I don't do sounds. Me and the music and, you know, the Twitch-enabled sounds like blurps or Tangia, the memes and stuff, those will happen. Like that. There you go. So we can see that someone redeemed that sound. And then I could do like this funny emote. This is one of my favorite emotes. Oh wait, my name doesn't show up in it. I forget about that. I can refresh the TikTok stream and then it'll do that. Okay. So for example, somebody like subscribed on YouTube. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. If we have somebody that follows on any of the platforms, I think that it should show up as an event. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe someone gives, I don't know if someone will give a gift on, you know, TikTok or something. I don't know if that will work, but it should. I think. Okay. Shall we continue? Put a 1 in chat if you're ready to hear Chapter 11, the start of the trial. Pan is ready. Baifu is ready. It didn't show the follow. Oh. Okay, I'll keep working on that later. Nikki is ready. Shinigami is ready. Kurt is ready. Jap is ready. Tars is ready. Shinigami is ready again. I'll start 11 years post-Walkmont. That's a great reference, Jap. I didn't expect that one. Don't forget to take a sip of water, do a posture check, maybe a stretch, big ol' stretch. We have 2 Shinigamis. Yes, we also have 2 Dovas. If you have a Twitch account and a YouTube account or a TikTok account or Golly, we could have all 3. if you have all 3 accounts, you can find me on all 3 platforms. StephTsu, spelled the same way. And then you can have 2 fishies. 2 shinigamis, just like, you know, in different locations. Anyway, I'll read. Chapter 11. Who Stole the Tarts? The King and Queen of Hearts were seated on their throne when they arrived, with a great crowd assembled about them, all sorts of little birds and beasts, as well as the whole pack of cards. The knave was standing before them in chains, with a soldier on each side to guard him, and near the king was the white rabbit, with a trumpet in one hand, and a scroll of parchment in the other. In the very middle of the court was a table with a large dish of tarts upon it. They looked so good that it made Alice quite hungry to look at them. I wish they'd get the trial done, she thought, and hand round the refreshments. But there seemed to be no chance of this, so she began looking at everything about her to pass away the time. Alice had never been in a court of justice before, but she had read about them in books, and she was quite pleased to find that she knew the name of nearly everything there. That's the judge, she said to herself, because of his great wig. The judge, by the way, was the king, and as he wore his crown over the wig, look at the frontispiece if you want to see how he did it. There's no pictures. He did not look at all comfortable, and it was certainly not becoming. And that's the jury box, thought Alice. And those 12 creatures, she was obliged to say creatures, you see, because some of them were animals and some were birds. I suppose they are the jurors, she said. She said this last word 2 or 3 times over to herself, being rather proud of it, for she thought, and rightly too, that very few little girls of her age knew the meaning of it at all. However, jurymen would have done just as well. The 12 jurors were all writing very busily on slates. What are they doing? Alice whispered to the griffin. They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun. They're putting down their names, the griffin whispered in reply, for fear they should forget them before the end of the trial. Stupid things, Alice began in a loud, indignant voice, but she stopped hastily, for the white rabbit cried out, "Silence in the court!" And the king put on his spectacles and looked anxiously around to make out who was talking. Alice could see, as well as if she were looking over their shoulders, that all the jurors were writing down stupid things on their slates, and she could even make out that one of them didn't know how to spell stupid, and that he had to ask his neighbor to tell him. A nice muddle their slates'll be in before the trial's over. Huh? A nice muddle their slates'll be in before the trial's over, thought Alice. One of the jurors had a pencil that squeaked. This, of course, Alice could not stand, and she went around the court, and got behind him, and very soon found an opportunity of taking it away. She did so quickly that the poor little juror, it was Bill the lizard, could not make out at all what had become of it. So after hunting all about for it, he was obliged to write with one finger for the rest of the day, and this was of very little use, as it left no mark on the slate. "Harold, read the accusation," said the king. On this, the white rabbit blew 3 blasts on the trumpet, and then unrolled the parchment scroll and read as follows. "The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts, and took them quite away." "Consider your verdict," the king said to the jury. Not yet, the rabbit hastily interrupted. "There's a great deal to come before that." "Call the first witness," said the king, and the white rabbit blew 3 blasts on the trumpet and called out, "First witness." The first witness was the hatter. He came in with a teacup in one hand and a piece of bread and butter in the other. "I beg pardon, your majesty," he began, "for bringing these in, but I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for." "You ought to have finished," said the king. "When did you begin?" The hatter looked at the March Hare, who had followed him into court, arm in arm with the Dormouse. 14th of March, I think it was," he said. 15th, said the March Hare. 16th, added the Dormouse. "Write that down," the king said to the jury, and the jury eagerly wrote down all 3 dates on their slates, and then added them up and reduced the answer to shillings and pence. "Take off your hat," the king said to the hatter. "It isn't mine," said the hatter. "Stolen," the king exclaimed, turning to the jury, who instantly made a memorandum of the fact. "I keep them to sell," the hatter added as an explanation. "I've none of my own. I'm a hatter." Here the queen put on her spectacles and began staring at the hatter, who turned pale and fidgeted. "Give your evidence," said the king, "and don't be nervous, or I'll have you executed on the spot." This did not seem to encourage the witness at all. He kept shifting from one foot to the other, looking uneasily at the queen, and in his confusion he bit a large piece out of his teacup instead of the bread and butter. Just at this moment, Alice felt a curious sensation, which puzzled her a good deal, until she made out what it was. She was beginning to grow larger again, and she thought at first she would get up and leave the court, but on second thoughts she decided to remain where she was as long as there was room for her. "I wish you wouldn't squeeze so," said the Dormouse, who was sitting next to her. "I can hardly breathe." "I can't help it," said Alice very meekly. "I'm growing." "You've no right to grow here," said the Dormouse. "Don't talk nonsense," Alice said more boldly. "You know you're growing too." "Yes, but I grow at a reasonable pace. said the Dormouse. "Not in that ridiculous fashion." And he got up very sulkily and crossed over to the other side of the court. All this time the Queen had never left off staring at the Hatter, and just as the Dormouse crossed the court, she said to one of the officers of the court, "Bring me the list of the singers in the last concert." On which the wretched Hatter trembled so that he shook both his shoes off. "Give your evidence," the king repeated angrily, "or I'll have you executed, whether you're nervous or not." "I'm a poor man, your majesty," the Hatter began in a trembling voice, "and I hadn't begun my tea, not above a week or so, and what with the bread and butter getting so thin, and the twinkling of the tea—" "Twinkling of the what?" said the king. "It began with the tea," the Hatter replied. "Of course, twinkling begins with a tea," said the king very sharply. "Do you take me for a dunce? Go on." "I'm a poor man," the Hatter went on, "and most things twinkled after that. Only the March Hare said—" "I didn't," the March Hare interrupted in a great hurry. "You did," said the Hatter. "I deny it," said the March Hare. "He denies it," said the king. "Leave out that part." "Well, at any rate, the Dormouse said," the Hatter went on, looking anxiously round to see if he would deny it too. But the Dormouse denied nothing, being fast asleep. "After that," continued the Hatter, "I cut some more bread and butter." What did the Dormouse say?" one of the jury asked. "That I can't remember," said the Hatter. "You must remember," remarked the king, "or I'll have you executed." The miserable Hatter dropped his teacup and bread and butter, and went down on one knee. "I'm a poor man, your majesty," he began. "You're a very poor speaker," said the king. Here, one of the guinea pigs cheered, and was immediately suppressed by the officers of the court. As that is rather a hard word, I will just explain to you how it is done. They had a large canvas bag, which tied up at the mouth with strings. Into this they slipped the guinea pig head first, and then sat upon it. "I'm glad I've seen that done," thought Alice. "I've so often read in the papers, at the end of trials, there was some attempt at applause, which was immediately suppressed by the officers of the court, and I never understood what that meant until now." "If that's all you know about it, you may stand down," continued the king. I can't go no lower," said the Hatter. "I'm on the floor as it is." "Then you may sit down," the king replied. Here the other guinea pig cheered, and was suppressed. "Come, that finished the guinea pigs," thought Alice. "Now we shall get on better." "I'd rather finish my tea," said the Hatter, with an anxious look at the Queen, who was reading the list of singers. "You may go," said the king, and the Hatter hurriedly left the court, without even waiting to put his shoes on. And just take his head off outside," the Queen added to one of the officers, but the Hatter was out of sight before the officer could get to the door. "Call the next witness," said the king. The next witness was the Duchess's cook. She carried the pepper box in her hand, and Alice guessed who it was, even before she got into the court. by the way the people near the door began sneezing all at once. "Give your evidence," said the king. "Shan't," said the cook. The king looked anxiously at the white rabbit, who said in a low voice, Your Majesty must cross-examine this witness." "Well, if I must, I must," the king said with a melancholy air, and, after folding his arms and frowning at the cook till his eyes were nearly out of sight, he said in a deep voice, "What are tarts made of?" "Pepper, mostly," said the cook. "Treacle," said the sleepy voice behind her. "Collar that dormouse," the queen shrieked out. "Behead that dormouse. Turn that dormouse out of court. Suppress him. Pinch him. Off with his whiskers." For some minutes, the whole court was in confusion, getting the dormouse turned out, and by the time they had settled down again, the cook had disappeared. "Never mind," said the king, with an air of great relief. "Call the next witness," and he added in an undertone to the queen, "Really, my dear, you must cross-examine the next witness. It quite makes my forehead ache." Alice watched the white rabbit as he fumbled over the list, feeling very curious to see what the next witness would be like. "For they haven't got much evidence yet," she said to herself. Imagine her surprise when the white rabbit read out, at the top of his shrill little voice, the name Alice. Is the end of chapter 11. Oh, you guys finished another puzzle? Remember, you gotta tell me when you finish a puzzle. Only one chapter left? One chapter left. Your model is gorgeous. Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for the gifts. Thank you. Hello, Nuke Boss. Hello, Profire. Would you be down to read the Horace Hearsay books? What are those? I know not what these are. Copy text. You're late. You're late. You're late. Here. I will paste that into suggestions channel. That's a 40K book. I've had people ask me before to read 40K stuff. I've also had people want me to read like political books or even like, you know, spiritual books, Warhammer books about the story of 40K. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about Warhammer or 40K. Do you really want a cute anime woman like me reading 40K? Really? This is what you want? This is what you want? Okay. Who's ready to finish Alice's Adventures in Wonderland? We're on the last chapter. Last one. Last one. Let's do this. Put a 1 in chat if you're ready to read the last chapter. Put a 2 in chat if you are asleep. My sleepy, sleepy fishes. My sweepy, sweepy little cutie pies. So sweepy, sweepy. Jap is ready. Nuke Boss. Nuke Boss, you really want me to read it? Pro Self Love is ready, and Kurt is ready. I can't type while asleep? Well, then I guess you're not asleep. Shinigami is ready. Nuke Boss is ready. And I shall read. Oh, I gotta drink water. And then it sounds to me like the next book we will be reading is Wuthering Heights. I hope you're all ready for that. Do you think I should, narrate it like I have previous books, or should I just, read it with my standard voice, not try to do like the voice acting and all that? Chapter 12. Alice's Evidence. Here! Cried Alice, quite forgetting in the flurry of the moment how large she had grown in the last few minutes. And she jumped up in such a hurry that she tipped over the jury box with the edge of her skirt, upsetting all the jurymen onto the heads of the crowd below. And there they lay sprawled about, reminding her very much of a globe of goldfish she had accidentally upset the week before. "Oh, I beg your pardon," she exclaimed in a tone of great dismay, and began picking them up again as quickly as she could, for the accident of the goldfish kept running in her head, and she had a vague sort of idea that they must be collected at once and put back into the jury box, or they would die. "The trial cannot proceed," said the king in a very grave voice, "until all the jurymen are back in their proper places. All," he repeated with great emphasis, looking hard at Alice as he said so. Alice looked at the jury box and said that, and saw that, in her haste, she had put the lizard in head downwards, and the poor little thing was waving its tail about in a melancholy way, being quite unable to move. She soon got it out again and put it right. "Not that it signifies much," she said to herself. "I should think it would be quite as much use in the trial one way up as the other." As soon as the jury had a little recovered from the shock of being upset, and their slates and pencils had been found and handed back to them, they set to work very diligently to write out a history of the accident, all except the lizard, who seemed too much overcome to do anything but sit with its mouth open, gazing up into the roof of the court. "What do you know about this business?" the king said to Alice. "Nothing," said Alice. "Nothing whatever?" persisted the king. "Nothing whatever," said Alice. "That's very important," the king said, turning to the jury. They were just beginning to write this down on their slates when the White Rabbit interrupted. Unimportant, Your Majesty means, of course, he said in a very respectful tone, but frowning and making faces at him as he spoke. Unimportant, of course, I mean, the king hastily said, and went on to himself in an undertone. Important, unimportant, unimportant, important, as if he were trying which word sounded best. Some of the jury wrote down important, and some unimportant. Alice could see this, as she was near enough to look over their slates. But it doesn't matter a bit, she thought to herself. At this moment, the king, who had been for some time busily writing in his notebook, cackled out, "Silence!" and read out from his book, Rule 42, all persons more than a mile high to leave the court. Everybody looked at Alice. "I'm not a mile high," said Alice. "You are," said the king. Excuse me. "Nearly 2 miles high," added the queen. "Well, I shan't go at any rate," said Alice. "Besides, that's not a regular rule. You invented it just now." "It's the oldest rule in the book," said the king. "Then it ought to be number 1, said Alice. The king turned pale and shut his notebook hastily. "Consider your verdict," he said to the jury in a low, trembling voice. "There is more evidence to come yet, please, Your Majesty," said the White Rabbit, jumping up in a great hurry. "This paper has just been picked up." "What's in it?" said the Queen. "I haven't opened it yet," said the White Rabbit, "but it seems to be a letter, written by the prisoner to somebody." "It must have been that," said the king, "unless it was written to nobody, which isn't unusual, you know." "Who is it directed to?" said one of the jurymen. "It isn't directed at all," said the White Rabbit. "In fact, there's nothing written on the outside." He unfolded the paper as he spoke, and added, "It isn't a letter after all. It's a set of verses." "Are they in the prisoner's handwriting?" asked another of the jurymen. "No, they're not," said the White Rabbit, "and it's the queerest thing about it." The jury all looked puzzled. "He must have imitated somebody's hand," said the king. The jury all brightened up again. "Please, Your Majesty," said the knave, "I didn't write it, and they can't prove I did. There's no name signed at the end." "If you didn't sign it," said the king, "that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name like an honest man." There was a general clapping of hands at this. It was the first really clever thing the king had said that day. "That proves his guilt," said the queen. "It proves nothing of the sort." "It proves nothing of the sort," said Alice. Why, you don't even know what they're about." "Read them," said the king. The White Rabbit put on his spectacles. "Where shall I begin, please, Your Majesty?" he asked. "Begin at the beginning," the king said gravely, "and go on till you come to the end. Then stop." These were the verses the White Rabbit read. "They told me you had been to her, and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character but said I could not swim. He sent them word I had not gone. We know it to be true. If she should push the matter on, what would become of you? I gave her 1, they gave him 2, you gave us 3 or more. They all returned from him to you, though they were mine before. If I or she should chance to be involved in this affair, he trusts to you to set them free, exactly as we were. My notion was that you had been, before she had this fit, an obstacle that came between him and ourselves and it. Don't let him know she liked them best, for this must ever be a secret, kept from the rest, between yourself and me.
That's the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet, said the king, rubbing his hands. So now, let the jury—
If any one of them can explain it, said Alice. She had grown so large in the last few minutes that she wasn't a bit afraid of interrupting him. I'll give him 6 pence. I don't believe there's an atom of meaning in it. The jury all wrote down on their slates, she doesn't believe there's an atom of meaning in it, but none of them attempted to explain the paper.
If there's no meaning in it, said the king, that saves a world of trouble, you know, as we needn't try to find any, and yet I don't know, he went on, spreading out the verses on his knee and looking at them with one eye. I seem to see some meaning in them after all. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you? He added, turning to the knave. The knave shook his head sadly. Do I look it? He said, which he certainly did not, being made of cardboard. All right, so far, said the king, and he went on muttering over the verses to himself. We know it to be true, that's the jury, of course. I gave her 1, they gave him 2. Why, that must be what he did with the tarts, you know.
But it goes on, they all returned from him to you, said Alice.
Why, there they are, said the king triumphantly, pointing at the tarts on the table. Nothing can be cleverer than that. Then again, before she had this fit, you never had fits, dear. You never had fits, my dear, I think, he said to the queen. Never, said the queen furiously, throwing an inkstand at the lizard as she spoke. The unfortunate little Bill had left off writing on his slate with one finger, as he found it made no mark, but he now hastily began, again, using the ink that was trickling down his face as long as it lasted. Then those words don't fit you, said the king, looking round the court with a smile. There was a dead silence. It's a pun, the king added in an offended tone, and everybody laughed. Let the jury consider their verdict. The king said, for about the 20th time that day. No, no, said the queen. Sentence first, verdict afterwards. Stuff and nonsense, said Alice loudly. The idea of having the sentence first? Hold your tongue, said the queen, turning purple. I won't, said Alice. Off with her head, the queen shouted at the top of her voice. Nobody moved. Nobody moved. Who cares for you? Said Alice. She had grown to her full size by this time. You're nothing but a pack of cards. At this, the whole pack rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. She gave a little scream, half of fright and half of anger, and tried to beat them off, and found herself lying on the bank, with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some dead leaves that had fluttered down from the trees upon her face. "Wake up, Alice dear," said her sister. "Why, what a long sleep you've had." "Oh, I had such a curious dream," said Alice, and she told her sister, as well as she could remember them, all these strange adventures of hers that you have just been reading about. And when she had finished, her sister kissed her and said, "It was a curious dream, dear, certainly. But now run in to your tea, it's getting late." So Alice got up and ran off, thinking while she ran, as well she might, what a wonderful dream it had been. But her sister sat still, just as she left her, leaning her head on her hand, watching the setting sun, thinking of little Alice and all her wonderful adventures, till she too began dreaming after a fashion, and this was her dream. First, she dreamed of little Alice herself, and once again the tiny hands were clasped upon her knee, and the bright eager eyes were looking up into hers. She could hear the very tones of her voice and see that queer little toss of her head to keep back the wandering hair that would always get into her eyes. And still as she listened, or seemed to listen, the whole place around her became alive with the strange creatures of her little sister's dream. The long grass rustled at her feet as the white rabbit hurried by. The frightened mouse splashed his way through the neighboring pool. She could hear the rattle of the teacups as the March Hare and his friends shared their never-ending meal, and the shrill voice of the Queen ordering off her unfortunate guests to execution. Once more, the pig baby was sneezing on the Duchess's knee, while plates and dishes crashed around it. Once more, the shriek of the griffin, the squeaking of the lizard's slate pencil, and the choking of the suppressed guinea pigs filled the air, mixed with the distant sobs of the miserable mock turtle. So she sat on. With closed eyes and half believed herself in Wonderland, though she knew she had but to open them again, and all would change to dull reality. The grass would only be rustling in the wind, and the pool rippling to the wave of the reeds. The rattling teacups would change to tinkling sheep bells, and the Queen's shrill cries to the voice of the shepherd boy, and the sneeze of the baby, the shriek of the griffin, and all the other queer noises would change, she knew, to the confused clamor of the busy farmyard, while the lowing of cattle in the distance would take the place of the mock turtle's heavy sobs. Lastly, she pictured to herself how this same little sister of hers would, in the aftertime, be herself a grown woman, and how she would keep through all her riper years the simple and loving heart of her childhood, and how she would gather about her other little children and make their eyes bright and eager with many a strange tale, perhaps even with a dream of Wonderland of long ago,
and how she would feel with all their simple sorrows, and find a pleasure in all their simple joys, remembering her own child life and the happy summer days. The end. Read to you by StephTsu. Brought to you by Project Gutenberg. Voila. Gotta add on the last few sentences. Beautiful, beautiful. Let me see. The top ebooks of the last 30 days. Frankenstein is still in number 2, which is surprising. Eventually, we will read complete works of Shakespeare. Let's see, where is Wuthering Heights? You can't tell me Wuthering Heights isn't on this list. Grimm's Fairy Tales, that's no surprise. The Odyssey, Sense and Sensibility, we'll get there. The Best Short Stories of 1920. White Knights. Wow. I am surprised that Wuthering Heights is not on this list. Room with a View. Dracula. I have received requests for Dracula. I had to promise somebody that yes, I will endeavor to read Dracula around Halloween. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for congratulating on good job. Thank you for giving good job. Yes, I do mommy ASMR. I would love to receive suggestions, recommended scripts for what kind of mommy ASMR do people want. You must tell me what you want. Otherwise, how is mommy to know? I take it nobody wants to continue puzzling today? Are we all puzzled out, darlings? Oh! And then we've got a puzzler. Ooh. Just as I was looking at it. Oh, get a big stretchies. There's a sequel, Through the Looking Glass. It's not as good as the first one. You bought a 3D printer? What are you gonna 3D print? Well, like, what are you gonna print? What are you gonna print in 3D? Tars, you're still here? Did you say that you had just woken up? Right? That you had become awake? Are you awake for the day? You bought 2 printers? Why? Why would you do this, Ham? You're going ham. Posture check. Hi, GOTC. Hi. Ohayou gozaimasu. I don't know if we will read Through the Looking Glass. Any of the books that I read the first, book 1 in the series, I generally want to see, like, is that book performing well before I consider reading the second book in the series. So, if you guys enjoy my audiobook of The Wizard of Oz, I may read the next book in the series, but that's really dependent if there's enough, like, views, if there's enough comments, like, if there's enough people requesting book number 2, I will read it. But otherwise, until then, I have to just kind of keep moving on. I'm making organization stuff for my workshop. Shelves for the super tiny parts. Oh yeah, but I build electronics and I'm having too much fun. I can see that. I would do the same thing. Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. I think I've read some Poe. And I have read those and posted some of those on social media. I was doing physics and I really enjoyed having your book telling in the background. I lost track of the stream. What kind of physics? You're going to bed soon? Okay. I hope that this has been very calming and very relaxing for you. For all of you. And I thank you so much for listening to me. Horus Rising Volume 1. Nuke Boss, if you're in the Discord server, you can put that in the... What's the word for it? The suggestions channel. I like how animated you are. Thank you. I'm just crazy like that. If any of you are not already in the Discord server, I do highly recommend it. You can sign up for whatever notifications that you want, and you will very, very rarely be pinged outside of that. And if you're not able to join in future streams for whatever circumstance, or you miss listening to my voice, my YouTube channel is going to be an excellent resource for you to listen either to the edited reading, so you take out all of the talking and the goofy, or you can listen back to the live streams in the live tab on YouTube. Those do not expire. I've not found how to join your Discord. !Discord. That, and I believe the bot is also putting the beacons link. You can also click on the beacons link, and there's going to be a link to Discord there. Do you actually read from a book, or do you read from the monitor? I read from the monitor, because I have previously tried to read from a book before, but this is what it ends up looking like the whole time, and then you get extra sounds in the background of me, like, turning a page, or, you know, trying to get, like, the book just right. So I find that the best, easiest way to have the cleanest audio for recording that audiobook is actually going to be to read from the monitor. Book sounds is soothing. You might want to take a listen to my Jane Eyre reading then, because that I am actually physically holding the book, and you'll be able to hear the page turning sounds. Oh, I just remember I have some very yummy dinner in my fridge right now. Oh, I'm excited I get to go eat that. We streamed a little extra longer today too. Yippee! I do have Wuthering Heights pulled up. So, let's see. How does this begin? It was recently updated on May 6th, so 10 days ago? I prefer holding the actual book. Well, I own physical books. It's just for the nature of creating a clean, professional audiobook. I read from screen. Okay. Wuthering Heights, how unfortunate for me that they don't bother including a table of content. But there are chapter 1, 2, 3, 34. There are 34 chapters. Oh dear heavens. Yes! All you have to do in order to get a fishy in the background is send a message in Twitch or YouTube chat. If you want 2 fishies, you can send a chat in both. Unfortunately, TikTok does not like sharing their API, and so I cannot give TikTok chatters fishies. Also, the amount of people that we get in TikTok chat that have ill things to say is unfortunately pretty common. So I don't know how I would have to restrict TikTok chat in terms of getting fishies, because people can have either inappropriate names or they can say inappropriate things. So it unfortunately gets very difficult to handle the restrictions on that platform. But I do would show you the real name, so I can't use that. Whenever we have individuals with like a first and second name, I try to avoid saying the whole name. I will say that there have been people who have joined on YouTube who have displayed first and last name, supposedly, and I have purposefully not stated the name out loud. I try to respect privacy as much as I can, but it is all assumption. Chapter 1, 1801. I have just returned from a visit to my landlord, a solitary neighbour that I shall be troubled with. This is certainly a most beautiful country. In all England, I do not believe that I could have fixed on a situation so completely removed from the stir of society. A perfect misanthropist's heaven, and Mr. Heathcliff and I are such a suitable pair to divide the desolation between us. A capital fellow. He little imagined how my heart warmed towards him when I beheld his black eyes withdraw so suspiciously under those brows, as I rode up, and when his fingers sheltered themselves with a jealous resolution still further in his waistcoat, as I announced my name. "Mr. Heathcliff," I said. A nod was the answer. "Mr. Lockwood, your new tenant, sir. I do myself the honour of calling as soon as possible after my arrival to express the hope that I have not inconvenienced you by my perseverance in soliciting the occupation of Thrushcross Grange
Thrushcross Grange. I heard yesterday you had had some thoughts. Thrushcross Grange is my own... Thrushcross... I'm turning into a duck, alright? Beware. This is your warning. You are going to be flashbanged, as well as ducked. Stuff mouth sounds ASMR. You do accents as well. Yes. I try. People really do like it when I do. They like it when I do a southern accent. But you see, there's a lot of ways you can do a southern accent. You could do southern accent with a bit of a drawl. So your vowels are gonna be really long. You're gonna emphasize any of the vowels that you can drawl out. You can put an L on it. And then, I'm in Oklahoma, so not bad. I am from the Midwest. And we don't sound like this. We don't sound like Southerners. But maybe, you know what? Maybe I should do an ASMR play in this voice. I think that would make a lot of you very happy. But, I read Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice in an accent. I did also read a adult NSFW romance that was Scottish and English. Never ask me to do a Scottish accent while speaking the part of a masculine character. It was not very befitting. Mr. Lockwood, your new tenant, sir. I do myself the honor of calling as soon as possible after my arrival, to express the hope that I have not inconvenienced you by my perseverance in soliciting the occupation of Thrushcross. That is going to be a problem. Thrushcross Grange. I heard yesterday you had had some thoughts. Thrushcross Grange is my own, sir, he interrupted, wincing. I should not allow anyone to inconvenience me if I could hinder it. Walk in. Walk in. The walk in was uttered with closed teeth and expressed the sentiment, go to the deuce. Even the gate over which he leant manifested no sympathizing movement to the words, and I think that circumstance determined me to accept the invitation. I felt interested in a man who seemed more exaggeratedly reserved than myself. You're good at impressions? Why, thank you. I have the sweetest little fishies in all the ocean. I'd like to think so. You know, the groveliness, the raspiness of my voice is making me think that I could probably go practice my screamo, my metal singing. But I wouldn't want to do that on stream. No, silly. Do you guys remember that TikTok? Fishing? I don't have to go fishing. My fish come to me. Oh, my back really hurts. If anybody... Yeah, I do those. I can also do... I'm out of water. Have you not heard... Your southern accent reminds me of the villainess from Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. What an odd memory you have, Cat. I don't think many of you have heard me do kind of like my anime character voice.
Which is essentially the uwu voice. Uwu? But I don't really get to use this voice very much because I don't think people like it. But do you think if people joined when I was doing a voice like this, that they would think that I normally sound like this? Do I sound like I'm using a voice changer? Do I sound like a regular VTuber? Or do regular VTubers sound more like children? I don't think I sound like a child. Do I? Do I sound like a child? Do I sound like a child?
I'm being silly now, and I'm waking everyone up. Yeah, you think?
Yeah, this is what I sound like all the time. I know my VTuber gives mommy vibes, but this is what I always sound like. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. The walk-in was uttered with closed teeth and expressed the sentiment, go to the deuce. Even the gate over which he leant manifested no sympathizing movement to the words. When he saw my horse's breast fairly pushing the barrier, he did put out his hand to unchain it, and then sullenly preceded me up the causeway, calling, as we entered the court, "Joseph, take Mr. Lockwood's horse and bring up some wine." You see, Mel Blanc had 1,000 voices, so you have the capability, I'm sure. Who? You sound better before you started talking like a squeaker.
Okay. So, Bugs Bunny voice. Oh, yes. So, I get it. You guys like the sound of my lower voice better. So now when people come into the stream and they hear a voice like this, is this the voice that you expect to come out of a VTuber looking like this? Is this the VTuber you expect? Sultry voice for the win. Peak ASMR. They see the reason why I read is because people think my tone of voice, the register of my voice, is ASMR. I could read in absolute monotone. Here we have the whole establishment of domestics, I suppose, was the reflection suggested by this compound order. No wonder the grass grows up between the flags and cattle are the only hedge cutters. Joseph was an elderly, nay, an old man, very old, perhaps, though hale and sinewy. The Lord help us, he soliloquied in an undertone of peevish displeasure, while relieving me of my horse. I think that if I read to you in a monotone voice, that people would love it either way. Now, I do double down on this again. I love to receive suggestions for what you want me to read, all right? If you want me to make a social media video about it, if you want me to make a YouTube video of it, if you want me to read something on stream, please tell me and give me the material. If you have links, if you just have an idea, something is better than nothing.
I cannot be the creator that you want unless you tell me what you want. And I do love when my fishies tell me what they want. Hi, Elite Trooper, how have you been? I say it's butter because they will notice you are different from all the others, and that's a good thing. What about a Star Wars book? Before I became the VTuber you see today, I did attempt to read some Star Wars, and it did not go well. Because I didn't know how to pronounce anything. Waffle, thank you so much for the 3 stream streak. I appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you. Just lurking. Well, I hope that you are feeling nice and relaxed, and that I'm able to bring some peace in your day. And I do hope that life outside of the stream has been treating you very well. It is great to see your name. Whether it be ASMR that you want to hear, all of my dear fishies, whether it's a game that you would like to listen to me play, you just let me know. But we are at 3 hours and 30 minutes, and it is my time to go. So, I must leave you, my dearest, beautiful fishies. I must leave you. I will be back again tomorrow night. Nope, not tomorrow night. I forgot what day it is. I'm sorry. I will be back again on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. And we will begin reading reading Wuthering Heights. Okay. Looks like there's somebody we could raid who is doing ASMR. Alright. The puzzle is coming along nicely. It's empty. What do you mean? Oh! You fooled me! You got me! Oh, you got me. Don't mind my dad. It kept making the same pronunciation. He calls Darth Vader Dark Vader and Padawan Panawan. Panawa. I actually have a clip where there's calamari, and I kept tripping up on it, and so the clip is called Steph Says Salami and Dies, because I failed to say calamari 3 times, laughed to myself. The dialogue said, it's the calamari you're here for. And so I say, it's the salami you're after. Ah! And then I just literally fall off screen laughing. It's the salami you're after. I never forgot that. I never forgot it. But it was hilarious. I need to fix the fish. I feel like they're not where they belong. Nyazarat, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, Elite Trooper, for dropping in. Good night, Jab. Who am I, the judge? Everyone's hiding behind me. Thursdays are busy. And again, if anybody is not able to catch me on stream, it is perfectly okay. As much as I wish I could have you then. It's perfectly okay. You can check out the YouTube live streams. You'll like salami or salami? Alright, with that, If you're watching on Twitch, we are going to raid, !raid, copy the raid message, and paste it in the next place that we go to. If you're watching on TikTok or on YouTube, the stream is just going to end for you, but I highly recommend you join. In the Discord server, you will only get pinged for what you want to be pinged about. And I will be back again next Thursday at 6 p.m. to continue reading begin reading Wuthering Heights. If you miss me, check out my YouTube. You can listen to the edited audiobooks published as videos or the previous live streams going all the way back to December 2024. So, until I see you again next time, please drink your water, eat your food, be kind to yourself and others, and have a great night.